in the city of Lagos. He had it all: money, power, women. But the moment he tried to settle down, they all ran from him in horror.
You will never know peace.
Now, the only way out is to go back to the place he abandoned and face the woman he betrayed. Watch till the end to find out how he got himself in this mess. Femi stood at the bus park, taking in his new reality. The air was thick with the scent of freshly tilled soil and the unmistakable aroma of burning firewood. The Polytechnic, his new home for the next 2 years, was located in a remote village far from the noise and sophistication of Lagos. He adjusted his backpack, feeling out of place among the villagers who eyed him with admiration and curiosity. The village was small, with dusty roads and houses made of mud bricks. Everything about it screamed simplicity. Too simple for someone like Femi, who had grown up in a bustling city filled with bright lights and endless opportunities. However, one thing soon became clear. The students from the city were revered here. Villagers treated them like royalty, their very presence adding a layer of prestige to those who associated with them. As he walked toward his new hostel, he could already sense the privileges that came with being a city boy. The village traders smiled at him, eager to sell their wares. Young boys followed him, asking about life in Lagos. The girls giggled, whispering among themselves. He smirked. This was going to be easier than he thought. But just as he was about to enter his hostel, an old woman standing by the roadside caught his eye. She stared at him intently, her lips slightly curled, as if she knew something he didn't. Femi felt a strange chill down his spine. The woman shook her head and muttered words too low for him to hear before turning away. Femi shrugged it off. After all, what could an old village woman possibly know about him? Little did he know his arrival had already set something dark in motion. The sun hung low in the sky as Femi and his two friends, Lanre and Shola, walked home from school. Their off-campus house was a long trek from the Polytechnic, but they had grown used to the dusty village roads. The village, though simple, had a certain charm, one that Femi was only beginning to appreciate. As they rounded a bend, they spotted a young woman struggling under the weight of a heavy bundle of firewood. She walked with measured steps, her body swaying slightly with each stride. Her wrapper was tied tightly around her full hips, and sweat glistened on her dark skin. She was average looking, but had an undeniable presence. Femi slowed his pace. "Who is she?" he asked, eyes fixed on the girl. Shola smirked. "That's Amoke. She's from one of the well-known families in the village. But be careful, her mother warns her about city boys." Femi grinned. "Is that so?" Before his friends could stop him, he quickened his pace and approached Amoke. "Let me help you with that," he offered, reaching for her load. Amoke startled, gripping the firewood tighter. She had heard stories of city boys, how they deceived village girls and left them heartbroken. Her mother had warned her countless times. "I'm fine," she replied, her voice thick with caution and heavy with the local accent. Femi chuckled, undeterred. "Carrying all this alone? You must be the strongest woman in this village." His words caught her off guard. A small smile played at the corner of her lips, but she quickly suppressed it. Without another word, she hurried past him, leaving Femi standing there, amused. Lanre shook his head. "You've lost your senses. A village girl?" Femi only smiled. "Trust me, I know what I'm doing." And so, the game had begun. Days passed, and Femi made it a habit to walk the same route after school, hoping to run into Amoke. He was patient, never pushy, just present. And each time he saw her, he greeted her warmly, sometimes offering to help with her load. At first, she refused. But with time, her resistance softened. Amoke had always been wary of city boys, yet Femi's persistent kindness unsettled her. He was different from the stories her mother told. He was polite, never boastful, and spoke to her like an equal. Each time he helped carry her firewood, he would only take it halfway, making sure not to overstep. And every evening after their encounters, she found herself thinking about him. One evening, as they walked together, Femi turned to her. "I hope your mother won't be too angry that I help you." Amoke blushed. "She sees us sometimes," she admitted. "She pretends not to, but she knows." Femi smirked. "And what does she say?" "She teases me," Amoke whispered, her cheeks flushing. "She calls you my city husband." Femi laughed, a rich, deep sound that made Amoke's heart flutter. He saw it, the way she lowered her eyes, the way she smiled shyly. She was falling, and he knew it. From that day, Femi started walking her closer to her home, where her siblings would peek from behind the hut, giggling. Her mother would pretend not to notice but would smile knowingly. The village soon buzzed with the news. Amoke had captured the heart of a city boy. Women whispered prayers, wishing their daughters the same fate. Men nodded in approval, proud that their village could charm an outsider. One evening, as Femi's friends were returning home, they overheard a group of village girls chattering excitedly nearby. "Amoke is so fortunate," one said. "A real city husband, not like these unserious boys here. If only I could be as fortunate," another sighed. Femi's friends exchanged uneasy glances. That night, when they returned home, they sat Femi down. "This has gone too far," Lanre said firmly. "You need to be honest with her." Femi chuckled, stretching lazily. "Honest? About what?" Shola leaned forward, eyes dark with concern. "Femi, do you really love Amoke?" Femi smirked, his voice dropping to a whisper. "I don't love her. I'm just using her. How could I love a village girl with that thick, disgusting local accent?" A heavy silence filled the room. Lanre clenched his jaw, shaking his head in disappointment. "Femi, you're playing with fire." Femi only laughed. "Fire?" He leaned back, unconcerned. "She's just a village girl. What's the worst that could happen?" But what Femi didn't know was that the fire he was playing with was already burning. Amoke's world had changed. Every evening she found herself waiting, hoping to run into Femi on her way home. His kindness, his deep voice, the way he smiled at her like she was the only girl in the world. It was all overwhelming. She had tried to fight it at first, remembering her mother's warnings, but it was no use. Femi had become a part of her routine and eventually a part of her heart. Her mother noticed. "Amoke," she said one night as they sat by the fire. "This city boy, are you sure he truly loves you?" Amoke blushed, lowering her gaze. "Mama, he is not like the others." Her mother sighed. "That is what every girl says before she learns the truth." But Amoke refused to believe anything bad about Femi. Hadn't he proven himself? He was patient, gentle, and never rushed her. Unlike other boys, he didn't demand anything from her. At least, not yet. Days turned into weeks, and Femi deepened his hold on her heart. He would visit her at the market, carrying her basket as she shopped. He would sit outside her compound in the evenings, chatting with her younger siblings. And when he held her hand for the first time, whispering, "You are special to me, Amoke," she felt her soul melt. One night, under the bright moonlight, Femi finally spoke the words she had been longing to hear. "I love you, Amoke," he whispered, brushing a strand of hair from her face. Tears welled in her eyes. "You do?" "With all my heart," he cupped her face gently. "I want to marry you. When I graduate, I will take you to the city. I will give you a good life." Amoke's heart soared. She had heard of city boys who lied, but Femi wasn't like them. He had promised her a future and she believed him with all her soul. That night, she laid on her mat, unable to sleep, replaying his words over and over. I will marry you. I will take you to the city. But in another part of the village, inside Femi's small rented house, his friend sat in heavy silence. Lanre was the first to speak. Femi, do you mean all that nonsense you told her tonight? Femi smirked, pouring himself a drink. Of course not. Shola exhaled sharply, running a hand over his head. Femi, this is wrong. That girl believes you. She believes what I want her to believe, Femi said, shrugging. I'm getting free food, care, and... He paused, a mischievous glint in his eyes. Soon I'll get the rest. Lanra slammed his fist on the table. You're playing with someone's heart. Femi laughed, unconcerned. And when I graduate, I'll pack my bags and disappear. Shola shook his head in frustration. One day, Femi, one day you'll regret this. Femi only grinned, swirling his drink. But deep in the village, Amoke was lying awake, dreaming of a love that never truly existed. Amoke's world was painted in love. Every moment with Femi felt like a fairy tale. And she had no doubts. He was hers and she was his. She worked even harder on the farm, saving little by little for the future she believed awaited her in the city. When she cooked, she made sure to prepare his favorite meals, bringing them to him with a proud heart. Femi played his role well. Each time he took a bite of her food, he would hum in appreciation, pulling her close and whispering, If you keep spoiling me like this, I might never leave. Amoke would giggle, not realizing that in Femi's mind, the countdown to his departure had already begun. The village women watched with envy, whispering about Amoke's good fortune. She will live in the city, they said. Her life will be different from ours. Even her mother, once cautious, began to believe. One evening, as the sun cast golden hues over the village, Amoke arrived at Femi's house, balancing a tray of steaming pounded yam and vegetable soup. She knocked gently before stepping in, only to find Femi lying lazily on his mat, laughing with his friends. Lanra's face hardened the moment he saw Amoke. Unlike Femi, he had developed a deep sense of guilt. The girl was giving her all, and she had no idea she was living a lie. Femi grinned as she set the food down. My wife, he teased, pulling her into his lap, always taking care of me. Amoke flushed with happiness, basking in his attention, but Lanre couldn't take it anymore. After Amoke left, he turned to Femi. You need to stop this now. Femi sighed dramatically. Lanre, we've been over this. No, Femi, you don't understand, Lanre shot back. That girl is giving you everything. Her heart, her trust. Do you think you can just walk away without consequences? Femi chuckled. What consequences? She's a village girl. She will cry for a while and move on. Shola, who had been quiet, finally spoke. You think so? Have you forgotten where you are? Femi frowned. What do you mean? Shola leaned forward, lowering his voice. This is not Lagos, Femi. This is a village known for its ways. Do you really think you can break a girl's heart so brutally and just leave without repercussions? For the first time, Femi didn't have a response. A strange chill settled over the room, and in the distance an owl hooted, a lone, eerie sound cutting through the quiet night. Femi brushed off Shola's warning, laughing as if the idea of consequences was absurd. He had always been in control of his life, and this was no different. To him, Amoke was just a phase, one that would end the moment he left the village. But that night, something felt off. As he lay in bed, a strange unease settled over him. The air in his small room felt heavy, and for the first time he found it difficult to sleep. Shadows flickered against the walls, stretching unnaturally long under the dim lantern light. The usual sounds of crickets and distant village chatter seemed eerily silent. Then, just as his eyes began to close, he heard it. A whisper, faint, low, right outside his window. Femi bolted upright, heart pounding. He held his breath, straining to listen. The whispering continued, soft, indistinct, like voices carried by the wind. He couldn't make out the words, but something about them sent a chill down his spine. Swallowing hard, he grabbed his torchlight and crept toward the window. Slowly, he lifted the curtain. Nothing. The moon cast long shadows across the compound, and everything was still. Femi exhaled, shaking his head at his own paranoia. Maybe Shola's words had gotten into his head. The next morning, he told himself he had imagined it. But as he walked through the village, something unsettling happened. The old woman he had seen on his first day, the one who had given him that strange look, was sitting by the roadside. This time, she didn't just shake her head. She smiled. A slow, knowing smile that sent ice through his veins. And then she spoke. The hunter who plays with the cub will one day face the wrath of the mother lion. Femi froze. The woman chuckled, her eyes gleaming. Do not say you were not warned. Femi forced out a laugh, but it felt hollow. He quickened his steps, suddenly eager to be anywhere but there. But as he left, the unease from the night before returned, and this time it refused to leave. For the first time since his game began, Femi felt something he had never felt before. Fear. Femi tried to shake off the old woman's words, but they clung to him like a shadow. His usual confidence felt shaky, and for the first time doubt crept into his mind. Was there really something to be afraid of? But as soon as he saw Amoke that evening, all his worries melted away. She stood waiting for him outside her family's compound, her eyes lighting up the moment she spotted him. She had prepared a special meal for him and even brought him a small gourd of palm wine. Femi smiled, accepting it as she beamed with pride. Femi, she said softly, her voice laced with deep emotion. Do you still mean what you said? That you will take me to the city? Femi hesitated for the briefest second before forcing a reassuring smile. Of course, Amoke, I will marry you and we will build a beautiful life together. She sighed happily, resting her head against his chest. Femi felt a pang of guilt, but he quickly silenced it. He had played this game for too long to stop now. Later that night, as he sat with Lanre and Shola, the conversation turned serious once again. She loves you, Femi, Shola said bluntly, more than you realize, and the whole village sees you as her future husband now. Lanre added, people talk, Femi. If you disappear after graduation, it won't end well. You don't understand these people. Their ways are deep. Femi waved them off, though their words unsettled him. Nothing will happen. She'll move on. But deep down, a small voice whispered, are you sure? The next morning, as he walked towards the Polytechnic, something unusual happened. A group of village elders, including Amoke's father, was gathered under a large tree. As Femi passed, the conversation stopped. The men turned to look at him, their expressions unreadable. One of them, a grey-haired elder with piercing eyes, called out, Femi, my son, come here. Femi hesitated. Something about their demeanor made him uneasy, but he forced a smile and walked toward them. The elder studied him for a long moment before speaking. You are a good young man, he said. Amoke is fortunate to have found you. Femi swallowed, nodding. Yes, sir. Another elder chimed in. Do you know the value of a promise, Femi? Femi's mouth went dry. Yes, I do. The first elder leaned in slightly, his voice low but firm. Then remember this, a man's word in this village is more than just words. It is binding, It carries power, and breaking it has consequences. Femi felt a cold shiver run down his spine. For the first time, he realized he wasn't just playing a game anymore. He was trapped in something much bigger than he had ever imagined. The day finally arrived, a day after their final examinations. Femi couldn't bring himself to face Amoke. He knew she would cry, beg, and cling to the dream he had fed her, and he wasn't strong enough to deal with that. So he took the coward's way out. The night before he was supposed to leave for Lagos, he packed his bags in silence. His heart pounded with every item he shoved into his small travel bag. Landre and Shola watched him from the corner of the room, their faces etched with disappointment. "This is wrong, Femi," Landre muttered. "At least say goodbye to her." Femi shook his head. "If I see her, I might hesitate. It's better this way." Shola sighed heavily. "You think disappearing will make it easier? It will only make it worse." Femi ignored them. He was doing what needed to be done. At midnight, when the village was wrapped in darkness and silence, Femi crept out of the house. His heart pounded with every step as he slipped past familiar huts, avoiding the paths he knew Amoke or her family might take. His only goal was to reach the bus park unnoticed. Just as he reached the outskirts of the village, he hesitated. A part of him wanted to turn back, but then he pictured Amoke's face, her innocent eyes, the way she had trusted him so completely. Guilt clawed at his chest, but fear of confrontation was stronger. With a deep breath, Femi stepped onto the waiting bus. As it rumbled to life, he stared out the window, watching the village fade into the distance. His hands felt cold, his chest tight. It was over. He was free. Or so he thought. But what he left behind would never truly let him go.